Hey, on my Travel Ones podcast today, I'm lucky to have Max Martini. How are you today, Max?
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Actor, director, writer. Now you've done it all, at least. With the
the directing is new, and the writing I started dabbling in, 10, 15 years ago, and it takes so long to sell anything in Hollywood. But I've got a little momentum with Will Gardner, and now I'm about to direct my third movie. So we're gaining traction.
Many of my listeners don't recognize the voice, which is, you have one of those voices, Max. I'm sure you've heard that before. You've been in over 25 movies that I could count. We'll start with Red Belt, because it's a personal favorite. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan, 13 Hours, the 50 Shades movies. What are the other ones you like to brag about?
Pacific Rim was a big one.
Yeah.
Captain Phillips. Contact, way back in the day, was a Robert Zemeckis movie. I've been very lucky to be part of such great films.
Well, I love talking to these overnight successes.
Yeah, exactly.
I find it interesting. You're playing a lot of military people, and even in officers and uniforms, and yet you got your BFA. It's not something you would typically equate getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Very odd. It's funny. It's we were speaking earlier about this. My mother was in law enforcement, and my father was an artist. He was a sculptor. So my dad came from Italy, from Rome, and landed in California, I think when he was probably 18, and met my mom. It was a very unusual couple. Anyway, that didn't work out too well. But my dad went back to New York City, and my mother stayed in Texas, where she's from. And she was involved in rodeos and, law enforcement, like we were talking about earlier. My dad was making artwork in New York City. And my mother remarried an actor-director named Stuart Margolin. I don't know if you know, he was on the Rockford Files. He played Angel. Yeah, he was a great character actor, and, is still acting and directing and writing. And so he had some info. When I was growing up, he would toss me into things he was directing, say, hey, go run over there and say this line and say this line. So I had a little experience in Hollywood, but honestly, I was really passionate about making artwork. So I went to a fantastic art school in New York City and got my degree in fine arts. And then literally the minute I graduated, that student loan kicked in, and I went, oh my God, I don't even know how to begin to pay this with a fine arts degree. So I went back and got back into acting to see if I could get a gig to start paying that off. And honestly, I got a big movie out of the gate with Jodie Foster, and I just never turned back. It's really odd, So I have this. I have a degree that cost me about $150,000. That's done absolutely nothing for me. But there you go.
Well, yeah,
it led me to this road.
I have a niece that got her BFA in dance at Fordham. It's hard to make money as a dancer, so she's been working as a dancer over in Paris for the last 3 or 4 years. But it's the same thing. It's like after so many years, dancing isn't a reality anymore because the body starts breaking down, and then when you still got the big old loan that you got.
Yeah, exactly. And this is fun. This is very creative. In fact, Sergeant Will Gardner was my first directing piece, and I found that I was using parts of my brain, accessing parts of my brain that I didn't as an actor, sort of more creative spaces, and I was really able to kind of, I actually felt like I was putting that degree to work,
Yeah.
So, and I've become really passionate about it, and I'm super excited about this next film that I'm going to do, and we can talk about that if you want. But
Well, no, the interesting part for me was Sergeant Will Gardner is it was your first directing role, right, in writing, but as an actor, you had traveled literally around the world. I mean, going to Malta for 13 hours, and then England for Saving Private Ryan, and Canada for Pacific Rim, and doing all the different things of traveling. But then you were always the actor. You were always the hired help. Whereas when you do Sergeant Will Gardner, it's now you. You're the director. You're the one putting the budget together, doing all that product.
Yeah.
How different was that? Instead of just being the hired help, show up here.
It's because I have a producing partner that started a company with, and he and I kind of once we started filming, and I had to actually concentrate more on the directing and the acting, which was no easy task. He took over the producing end of it, but up until that point, I was also acting as producer, and that's not something that I'm gonna do in my leisure. I just didn't enjoy it that much. There's a whole business side to Hollywood that people don't see, and that's the machine, and it really is a machine. There's a lot of variables when you're casting a movie. You need name actors to guarantee ticket sales, and so that side of it I can give up, but the other side was honestly the time of my life, and you mentioned all these great places that I've been able to shoot in and travel to. Even Will Gardner, we started, like we were discussing earlier, in Redondo Beach. Yeah. That was our first day of shooting, and then because it's a road trip film, Harley Davidson gave us 2 motorcycles, and we shot the motorcycle from Los Angeles all the way to New Mexico, and then we filmed the bulk of the movie in New Mexico. And then we got back on the road and shot the motorcycle from New Mexico all the way to Arlington National Cemetery. Yeah. And then we went back to New Mexico, and I shaved, and we did the combat. And the epic of it, which is a whole story unto itself. But so there was a lot of traveling in that film too, and I really got to experience the beauty of this country. I mean, it's just it's amazing. And we shot, I think we probably had about 8-9 days worth of footage that we and ended up using about 3 minutes of it. So there's so much that wasn't put into the film, but really beautiful landscapes in this country.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, when you travel, I think a lot of people, you look at the movie, I don't think, unless you've been on a movie set, you don't realize how many people are behind that lens.
What's funny? I had that exact thought yesterday. I'm starring in this television series called The Purge, and I'm in New Orleans, and we're doing this very intimate scene that takes place in my mother's room at an assisted living facility, and it's me and a couple of the characters and my mom, who has Alzheimer's, who's sitting in this chair, and at one point when they were changing lenses, I thought, God, it's so crazy that people don't realize that in this really intimate scene, there's 30 people in the room staring at you while you're shooting it. It's really, probably a good thing that people don't see behind the scenes, because it does. I know for me, when I watch movies now, I watch it. I can't watch it without looking into that, what you're not seeing and all the technical things that went into the making of the shot, blah 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 blah. It's taking a little bit of joy out of the experience of going to the theater for me. But it's funny. And
musicians are the same way, that I found out. If you talk to a couple of people I've talked to on the show that are touring musicians, when they hear music now, they're not just experiencing it or saying, "Hey, I want to remember the song because I'm looking at the sunset." They're going, I wonder why they took that bridge. Why is the chorus holding up there? And he could have dropped it down here. And, they're analyzing the song instead of just enjoying the song.
Well, one of the, here's another kind of fun fact that, this whole process of what happens after you've shot the film is all, and, it's called post-production. And Jay DeMarcus, who is one of the three guys who wrote Rascal Flatts, he had a small part in the combat sections of the movie, but he also scored our film, and if people have seen the movie, which, by the way, is available on Amazon and iTunes, just so I can plug it.
We're going to plug the heck out of it.
Oh, good. Good. So but for people that have seen the movie or are going to, there's this big orchestral score to this very small, little independent movie, which makes it feel much bigger than it is. And when we were doing the music, Jay had maybe a 4-piece little, 4 or 5-piece little, I don't know it's a quintet, I guess. And they kept layering the music. So they would record one song, and then they'd record it again, and then they'd record it again, and they kept layering it so that in the film it seems like a major orchestra, and that was very interesting to me too, just that you brought up the music, but that was something that I didn't know you could do, or that they did do, and we did it in his recording studio at his house, in his little space.
Yeah, see, that's my daughter does music production and post-production, and just starting out, just graduated college and all that, but she's the same way. She can't listen to music now without going, they could have layered that up differently, or they could, and she's working on getting music rights for the movies. And so it changes your world. And it's just, I look at rodeos completely different now. As a fan, I used to be able to just go, oh, hey, woo! And now I'm like, oh my God. You start, like, we go to NFR, to the rodeo in Vegas. It's a 10-day show.
Yeah.
I show up 4 to 5 days early so we can help set up our booths, work the 10 days, and then 2 to 3 days of teardown. Well, that's 17 days in Las Vegas. That's a long time to sleep in a hotel room in Las Vegas.
I've never made it three. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." Like, yeah, but after 9-10 years of it, the 20-year-olds love it.
Of course.
I don't care what you do.
My old broken body can't make it past 3 days. That's my limit.
Well, so I was going to ask you. I know you have a family, and you're traveling for work and all. How do you balance, life, friends, family, children, and a job that makes you go to different states, different countries, and on production?
It's really tough. I mean, that's one of the things that you give up, and it's quite honestly, it's something that I didn't foresee. When I had my first child was born, I was on a series called the Unit, and I was in Los Angeles, and that show ran for 4 years, and then suddenly it ended, and as they do, and then I just kept getting pulled away from home all the time. Like, they really don't. There's a lot of production in LA, but it's mostly studio production, sitcoms, things that they shoot on stage, and so yes, it's a balancing act, and it's tough, and it's one of the things that I dislike about what I do, but the upside of that is that my kids have been to, and when I say been, I mean like spent a month in Australia, or like actually really experienced the country and the culture and the people, and they've been to Canada. They've been to, so every time I'm on location, they went to Malta. I've shot all over Europe and, Eastern Europe and Mexico. And so they get to travel, and my oldest is year-old boy. They've done more travel than most adults will in their life, So that's the take, is that they're walking away with this great experience of having seen the world on somebody else's dime,
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the people I talk to for the podcast say the same thing. I just, I was telling you, he had Gracie on, and he was saying his two daughters have been into like 14 different countries now. Yeah. They're 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he wants to take them on a road trip, and he just took them to Scotland. So he's doing the same thing. He's like, if I've got to travel, let me make them part of it. And I did that to a certain extent with my youngest daughter. I took her to a couple different states, and as I travel around to help open up stores and stuff. But
it's really
that's
wonderful,
the balance.
And I love it. I just traveling is it's one of my favorite things to do, and I, like I said, my dad is from Rome, so I have a big family there. So every time I get to Europe, I get to sort of reconnect with, with the other side of my heritage, and but yeah, this business has taken me to some pretty crazy places.
What's the best and worst place you've been to for shooting, from working?
Let's see. I actually didn't go there to shoot. I went there for a meeting. This is a pretty funny story. I'll see if I can give you the short of it. So I was walking down this big shopping street in Los Angeles, and my agent called and said, "Hey, listen, I sent your demo reel to this director that had won an Academy Award for some short horror film in Norway. And they love you, and they want to fly you to Oslo today." So I ran home. I tried to throw a bag together. Look, this is a little extravagant. This doesn't happen often, but this limousine picks me up in front of my house. It takes me to LAX. I get on Virgin Airways first class. I hit London. There's a first class lounge. They've got steam rooms and saunas, and it's outrageous. And then I flew into Oslo. This ticket probably cost $20-something thousand last minute. Okay. And I get to Oslo, and I asked my agent, I said, "Look, am I going to audition for this thing?" He said, No, it's just a meeting. So I get to Oslo, and I'm wrecked, and I get to my hotel, and there's a note saying, "We'll pick you up at, 6 p.m. for dinner." And so that gives me, maybe I had 45 minutes to kind of get my head together. So I throw something on, I've got this big hall, and I walk in, and all these bearded guys stand up, and they wave me over. They all look like Vikings. And I get to this table, and they're eating, whale and reindeer and, all this crazy meat and fish and drinking beer. So they get me hammered at this restaurant in Oslo. And I go back to the hotel, and there's a package waiting for me, and it's the script, but they pulled scenes from the script. There's probably 30 pages, and it said this is for your reading tomorrow. Oh, I told my agent. I can't. You told me I wasn't on audition. You're not auditioning. Well, they left me audition material. So I've been drinking beer. I haven't slept. I'm jet lagged. I'm in Norway. I get up the next morning, and my bleeding from the eyes. And I get taken to the soundstage, and they walk me in, and there's a full crew with cameras, makeup artists. Oh yeah. And I'm playing the bad guy, and I went, all right, Martini, well, just do or die. So jump in there. You're going to do it cold. So I did this audition with the guy from Game of Thrones. He wasn't that famous at the time. Nikolai Costa, I'm blanking on his name, but the lead guy from Game of Thrones. Anyway, he and I do this screen test, and they I don't get the role, and they send me back to Los Angeles. But I was in Norway, and while I was in Norway, I bungee jumped with the director from one of those big cranes in one of the town squares. It was a hilarious and bizarre trip, but that was one of my favorite places to visit. It was really beautiful, and very civil, and flying in was like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, it was just stunning. And then
it makes going back to Spirit Airlines a little different, doesn't it?
Yeah, JetBlue, right, exactly. And then the worst place. Man, oh man!
You don't have to say it if you don't want to.
Well, I mean, I shot in Slovakia. There wasn't much there. Probably Slovakia. I wouldn't go back to, but there's a lot of land between Oslo and Slovakia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's awesome though. That's those are the stories. I mean, I
Budapest was interesting too. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Oh no, the worst way. I think it's all experience based. I mean, I went to Pueblo, Colorado, which is a great little town, but the experience I had there of my trailer breaking down as we're setting up for a rodeo there, and then working in 110-degree heat. So we were working indoors, but they were using swamp coolers, but they weren't pumping cold water into the swamp cooler. It was warm water. So it was blowing hot air onto us indoors. People were going outside in 110-degree weather to cool off.
To cool off.
And it was like 3 days of standing there trying to sell boots and jeans to people that were in shorts and flip-flops.
Good man.
So that was, I still enjoy Pueblo. That experience was like, I never want to do that again.
Right.
I don't know if you ever driven from like Cheyenne, Wyoming down to. There's not much there.
Yeah.
So when your trailer.
Although I love Wyoming. There's parts of that state that are beautiful.
I went up to Gillette where they have the high school final rodeos up in Gillette, and near Devil's Tower. And I have friends over in Laramie that keep wanting me to come out, and I'm like, well, usually when I want to come out, it's -20, and I'm not doing that for free.
I want to switch gigs with you for a little bit and go do the rodeo circuit. You can come to Hollywood and hit my makeup chair. That's about as hard as it. That's about as difficult as it gets.
I'll pass.
Yeah. I knew you would.
I've been in Redondo Beach now for 18, 19 years, and met celebrities and done things, and most are good people, but the working on a set is, I don't think people understand how tedious it is.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, especially the movies that I do. They're 4 to 6 months to shoot. 6 months to shoot. There's a lot of training. Generally, for instance, 13 hours. We had I would say, I'm guessing, but a minimum a couple weeks, solid weeks of live fire range training and physical training and then we meeting with the contractors or people that had worked for GRS that were contractors at the time. So there's sort of a schooling, there's a physical training, then there's a live fire weapons training, and this is all the preparatory work. This is just as an actor, and then you're constantly training while you're shooting to keep your to stay sort of current, for lack of a better word. So, So there is a lot that goes into it, and you know, on a certain level, I mean, I know a lot of actors that don't put anything into it, you know, but they only get so far. So, you know, it's at a certain point, if you want to rise above, you know, a certain level, you have to you got to put in the work, you know. And this is the stuff that people don't see. You know, it's funny. I get a lot of people say, "Hey, you know, well, you know, I think I won't get into some acting." I think, how do I do that? You know, I don't even know how to answer that question, because it's, you know, it's really, you have to. When I went back to acting, I went to school in New York City. I studied privately. I studied with, you know, I started a theater company. You know, we put on plays in New York City downtown. You know, once I decided that I was going to do this, you know, I had a bit of a shoe in, but I put in a lot of work. I put in as much as I did into getting my art degree, maybe more, you know, to last, you know, for longevity in this business. And yeah, you got to work for it. It's like anything, you know.
The only real experience I have on movie is when I was 24, I think 24, 25. I hadn't had kids yet, so I was living in Reno, working, and they were going to shoot a movie there, and they said they want background workers. I'm like, cool, extra money? I'll do that. It was for Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. And I'm like, all right, you know, so I had 3 days off, and I went over, and I sat there for, I mean, you just, as a background extra, you're sitting in a room for 5 hours. And then they come in once in a while and say, you, come with me. The rest, hang on. And then they go out, and then they wanted me to come back the next day because they were going to do a specialty role. And I'm like, cool, whatever, you know, as long as I don't have to speak, I'm good. And I'm the opening scene of Sister Act. Like the absolute opening scene. It's a guy and a girl walking down the street in Reno. It's supposed to be in the 50s, so they had some old cars and all that. That scene took 5 hours to film.
Oh yeah. And
it's if you don't even have to blink to miss it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
less than a second.
It's you know, they overshoot for safety, but yeah, it takes a long time. TV moves much quicker. Yeah. So we'll do an episode of television in 8 days. So here, just to give you like an episode of TV is about 50 pages, and a movie script is about 120, let's say. So a little more than double. But an episode of TV takes 7 to 8 days. A movie, a lower budget film will shoot in, let's say, 30, and then something, the size of Pacific Rim took 6 months, so it kind of depends on the scale, how much computer work, how much animation they're doing, how technical it is. I mean, Pacific Rim was robots, and, honestly, it was sea monsters and robots, and 90% of the movie, I was in a big sound stage in front of a green screen, acting to imaginary sea monsters. I had no idea when the movie came out. I was like, oh, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So
first time for everything. Yeah. I think I don't think people understand. Like when I was on Sister Act, I started realizing, like, I was sitting at one other scene, I was a background and sitting at a slot machine, and the lighting guys had to put strip lights on the sides of all the slot machines to light up the people at the slot machines, because casinos are typically dark. And I was just like, oh my God, I never realized, and then they had to camera A and B, and then they had to make sure that the lights weren't visible from both cameras and where the cameras, you know what I mean? I was just like, oh my God, we sat there for hours. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Will Gardner, we shot, I think even with Road Trip, we shot, it took about 30 days to make, and we had
$2.5 million to make it, and
which is nothing.
And we were
in movie budget.
Yeah, which is nothing in my world. That's nothing. That's a low budget film, and you know, so I had to get creative with the combat sequences. You know, I couldn't shoot, you know, your Michael Bay combat. I had to, you know, figure out how to squeeze it in, you know, on that budget, on what little money we had for that portion of the film. But, you know, it's I get I don't know if you have any veteran listeners, but I get these amazing direct messages from people. You know, thanking me for the film and for the efforts behind it, you know, to raise awareness to these issues that these soldiers are facing post-combat. And, you know, and the wonderful thing, the special thing about this movie is that we're giving 30% of our profits away to 3 charities that do just stellar work for injured service people.
Well, so, the thing I really appreciated about the movie was, I'm just a few years older than you, but I still remember, like, you know, the Vietnam War, it was a bad thing, you know, and so the fact that we're actually, people like you and Gary Sinise are bringing awareness to the PTSD and the TBI, which is, you know, the traumatic brain injury. That's what needs to be happen for our veterans. They need other people to go, hey, he's not a whack job. He went through some shit and he needs to deal with it.
Yeah,
and that didn't happen in the past wars.
It truly, and you know, and I mean the VA system sadly has flaws, you know, and I know that they're trying to you know, upgrade everything, and even their computer system in this day and age, can you believe it, is just not. Creating a lot of back traffic. But they are trying to fix the system. But until then, you know, we have these incredible organizations that are picking up where the VA is failing, and you know, they really need to be supported. And the numbers of soldiers having come back from combat with TBI, which is a physical injury, and PTS, which is an emotional injury, you know, the numbers are staggering. And here's a sad statistic that I put at the end of the movie, but in 2015, an Inspector General's report came out stating that over 300,000 soldiers had died awaiting pending health care claims. So these are soldiers that are in the queue for health care that they just couldn't get to, you know, and those numbers are sobering, you know. So
I agree.
Yeah. So we, you know, my partner Mike Haggerty and I wanted to you know, tell this story. We you know, I was utilizing my fan base, which is largely military, and you know, in hopes of, you know, raising some awareness and raising some money for these great charities, and you know, create the movie serves as a call to action. It's really, you know, a reminder that and you say Vietnam, there's a wonderful little scene in the film with a Vietnam vet, and these guys, even still from that war, are homeless on the street. You know, there's a lot of we really need to do more for our service people, in my mind.
And that scene's in the trailer, and at least they show on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And when you adjusted that guy's cap, and I was like, I gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's a lot of people's favorite scene in the film, and it's heartbreaking. But you know, there's a lot of comedy in the movie. There's some levity, you know, some goofy comedy to kind of make it, you know, digestible, and
there's some twists.
Yeah, and there's some twists, and there's some great, but you know, as far as the film goes, the cast is just amazing, and
You know, when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh shit, I got to check this movie out. I mean, with the actors that you have in it, and the way it was shot, and I mean, just different coming from somebody that's been an actor for 20 plus years. you make a good movie because you have an idea already what you want.
Yeah.
And so it does not look like a $2.5 million movie.
Right.
I mean, it looks like a big, like you were saying with the scoring and the music, and I didn't know Jada Marcus was part of that. You know what I mean? It's like, you pulled out all your stops, and it panned out.
Yeah, I cashed in. You're right, all the layers just kind of make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and we had some great.
I did the same thing with my podcast, Max. I cashed in. my first guest was Hunter Keir, two-time world champ steer wrestler, who I've known for 10 years. He was my first guest. My second guest was Cowboy Troy, who plays with Big and Rich. And I'm like, Troy, you want to do me a song? He goes, yeah, man, don't worry about it. We'll do it. So, and he actually gave me a lot of advice beforehand. So, because I had never heard my own voice. I had never done it, been out selling and talking to people. Versus hearing your own voice is totally unique experience.
Well, it's fun and it's great. It's great for people to have access to these interviews. You get some good characters on, and it's good for entertainment. It's informative. So good for you.
Yeah, and sharing it out. With Sergeant Will Gardner, I mean, I look at it and I see when I pull it up, I see it's available on YouTube, Google Play, Amazon Prime Video, Vudu, and Netflix.
Yeah,
so,
if I would encourage people not to go to Netflix for it. I mean, it's and people don't know this, but so when Netflix basically buys the film, so for a set price. So if you're interested in helping us achieve our goal of getting to our profit margin so we can start getting money to veterans, it's better for us if you go to Amazon or iTunes or anywhere where you actually have to purchase the film because like I said, there was a flat fee for Netflix. So if I could encourage people to do that, the wonderful thing is that if you have a soft spot for our military, or if you have a concern for these kids that are coming back injured, and when I say kids, I went to Iraq twice, and that was the first thing that I really noticed was the average age of our service member is very young. I mean, I was looking out into a sea of pimply faces, and politics aside, this is our military. There's nothing, they're taking orders, and these are youngsters. Probably, I would guess, but the average age somewhere between 18 and 23, and especially in this war, they were being re-upped and re-upped and re-upped. So you're not hardwired to endure, emotionally, that kind of stress, the kind of injuries that they're coming back with, and sleep deprivation is a big one, So anyhow, so the point is that we've sort of done the work for you. So all you have to do to help us help them is watch the film, be entertained. Hopefully there's things in it that touch you and help us get to our profit margin so we can get some money to these veterans that need it.
So what's the number one ways for people to help? It's iTunes, you said?
Yeah, any of those digital platforms like iTunes or Amazon, Vudu, those are the best ways to help support us. And I thank you in advance. I'm really proud of the movie. I think it's a great little piece. And like I said, the actors, we have Gary Sinise in the film, Dermot Mulroney, Robert Patrick, who I did the unit with. Everybody knows Robert, and Elizabeth Rome, who you'll recognize, Amari Hardwick, who's leads a show called Power, is fantastic. Jada Marcus from Rascal Flatts, and my son, my youngest plays my son in the movie, and he's amazing.
You got to throw that in there, right?
Yeah. So, and then quickly, I'll just say something about the charities that we're giving to, so people know these are charities that we vetted. they get money and assistance directly to veterans. They don't have, huge overhead administrative costs. The first charity that we're giving to is the Gary Sinise Foundation. Obviously, Gary's a buddy. He's in the movie. He does an incredible amount of work for veterans. His charity does everything from play, from entertain through his Lieutenant Dan band, to building homes and outfitting homes for veterans that are disabled. They're all over the map. They took, I think, 1,000 Gold Star wives and their families to Disneyland. They take World War vets to places, World War II vets to places, and it's just an amazing foundation that he started, and he is a force in the veteran community.
Okay, sure.
Our second charity is called Higher Ground. They're out of Sun Valley, Idaho. They use recreational therapy to assist veterans. They have a new branch in Los Angeles that's dealing with the homeless veteran crisis in Southern California. And then lastly, Warrior's Heart is based out of Texas. They're helping veterans and first responders that suffer from drug and alcohol dependencies. And then once you're in the program, they'll also address PTS and TBI. But all three of these organizations are changing lives, and like I said, we dug deep and found three great ones, and I think we've covered a lot of bases awesome. In between the three of them. Yeah.
How I guess we both live in the LA area. It's known as a vapid, self-serving world that we roll in, but yet, how good does it feel to put a project like this together where you're truly helping others? I mean, it's not, you're not just trying to make a movie to become a big superstar hero, movie star.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great, and Hollywood isn't notorious for giving back. So it's in my world, it's wonderful. Unfortunately, there were a lot of critics that sort of felt like the movie had some sort of conservative political agenda, which it doesn't at all. In fact,
I didn't get that at all from it.
At all, yeah, and it was really, that was disheartening. That they didn't, the critics that sort of were cruel made it into that, and they didn't mention the charitable efforts, and so my community was a little harsh on me, man, to tell you the truth, but on the flip side, the people that I made it for have embraced it in such a big way, and so it's been very, very, very rewarding, that the people that I wanted to embrace it have, and but it's an amazing little film. You saw it, so I'm super proud of it, and yes, I'm very happy that if we can get to this profit margin and I can start getting money to these charities, I'm going to make a big spectacle about it, and
yeah.
Really and truly, I'm going to.
Yeah,
I think it's newsworthy that a little movie gets to the point where they're giving back, and I know we will get there. It's just a matter of time,
Yeah, I mean, well, just like most things in life, they don't come overnight.
Yeah, I don't really take no or give up too easily. So,
I thought it was interesting because I did some additional research on you before we spoke, and I saw the reviews, and I'm like, okay, it's like
harsh. Yeah, they were really harsh. But this is it's a weird time politically, and I work in a space that if they think that there's any hint of favoritism, towards the right, they will destroy you and make it their mission to, really no lie. It's unfortunate because, again, this is not a political, piece of propaganda. It's at all,
I don't even think you bring that up at all. I mean,
Yeah, not at all. There's a few pieces of dialogue in the movie that support the military, but I think that both sides need to support the military. This country
I don't think you'd ever hear. I don't like talking about politics, but I don't think you'd ever hear a Democrat not support the military.
I don't think so either. But it strikes me peculiar that Hollywood doesn't do more for the military. This is a large portion of our homeless population. It's been in the news since 2001. That how many kids are coming back injured. I mean, the numbers are, like I said, they're very sobering, and we have this incredible platform from which to speak, and I'm talking about Hollywood as a community has the eyes and ears of so many people, and when they get behind a cause, when they do, they raise a lot of money. They're very impactful. When you rally the support of all these celebrities, I mean, you can really create some significant change. And the fact that Hollywood hasn't done that for the military is it's baffling. Why they don't hold events to help these soldiers recover. So maybe look, man. I mean, I wanted to do something that hadn't been done. I know for a fact that there's very few movies, if any, that have ever given back to charity, and this isn't a movie about some soldier that's it's not a story of 2 hours of suffering. It's really a story that should inspire healing, should inspire hope, and hopefully motivate people to do more. So
no, that's one of the things where you get to go to sleep at night knowing you did what you did.
Yeah.
Regardless of a review or too much country music in a movie. I'm like,
well, you read that. That was crazy. I mean, somebody even said, they criticized me for using country music in the film. They criticized me for waving the flag. Like, what? You can't wave the flag anymore? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just.
So I'm like, even in the myopic world of Hollywood, country, too much country music. Have you heard of Blake Shelton, Luke Bryan?
Exactly. Well, but by the way, like
Carrie Underwood,
right? Like get past the where the 10 freeway and the 101 meet, and you get and the rest of the country they're all listening to country music. By the way, so it's anyway. All I can do is stick to the road that I believe is true, and lead by example. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I still get amazed. Try and get a ticket for Zach Brown at the Bowl or at the Greek. I mean, he sells out at the Greek.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? I saw Sugarland at the Hollywood Bowl. I'm like,
did you? Yeah. Love Sugarland though.
So. I appreciate it.
Listen,
I will do as much promotion as I can for it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I will tell people to go to iTunes and Amazon and help pay for it.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, like I said, there is a phase 2 that once we start getting money to charities, I'm going to be using my social media platforms to really to get the word out. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Max Martini LA. And on Twitter, I'm also Max Martini LA. And then, like I said, I have another movie coming out, which is hilarious. It's called The Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre. This was my follow-up to Sergeant Will Gardner, because I needed a break and from the drama. So this is a completely hilarious goofball dude humor zombie comedy that has just another big cast, and it's a lot of fun. So that'll be coming out. I'll do some announcements on social media for that. And then the next film is that I'm off to direct in November is a rodeo movie called Sundown. And you know, that's what you and I should do another follow-up once I get into that, because there'll be
absolutely
good opportunities there for plugging. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But listen, thank you so much for having me on the show, man. I was looking forward to doing it, and I'd love to come back.
Yeah, I don't even have to say it twice. I'd love to have you on again, and then I'll definitely stay in touch with you and let you know if I can do anything on the back end for Sundown.
Fantastic.
So, appreciate the time, Max, and have a great weekend, buddy. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
All right, bud. Talk to you soon.